Kate and Val. Welcome to the Getting Married Multiculturally podcast. Super excited to
Thank
have you
you.
guys here. I feel like it's been a long time coming. Um,
Yeah.
and I met you guys on Instagram. I feel like these days that's usually how people meet like-minded people.
Yeah, that's the way now.
Yeah. And when I saw your Instagram bio that said teaching multicultural couples how to manage their money so they can build their own American Canadian dream, I immediately thought I need to have you guys on a podcast and ask you a
Thank
bunch
you.
of questions. Okay, but before we get into all of that, can you guys introduce yourself? Where are you from? Where do you guys live now? And what do you do?
Okay, I'll let my wife start.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so it's the two of you. So you feel free to just answer the question, whoever feels like more related to it, but you both can just answer it.
Perfect. Well, I'm Kate. I was born in Chile and I came to Canada about 11 years
11 years.
ago. And then I met this guy who is.
I'm Val. I was born in Ukraine, and my family moved to Israel when I was almost 9 years old. And after Israel, I moved to Canada, which was about 14 years ago.
And we met in Winnipeg and we had our daughter. She's Canadian,
Yeah.
the pure Canadian. And yeah, we are a multicultural family.
Yes.
Yes.
Currently, we're living in Kitchener, Ontario, closer to Toronto area, but with a big hope very soon to move to United States.
Oh, really?
We are
Yes.
travelers. We like to move like good multicultural family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what we do, we teach multicultural families, as you said, about money, because we realize that a lot of people were asking us, how do you do it?
And struggling with it, especially in moving to a new country. It's not always easy when you don't have friends, you don't have relatives, nobody to ask.
Yeah.
So we understand the struggle. That's how we came. We don't have anybody in Canada, and not close family. Now friends, but at the beginning it's just you and the world.
Yeah, and there are a lot of different things that you had to learn, the system, and we thought, okay, this is our passion. We love to talk about money. Why not to help other people, especially multicultural families that
Yeah.
feels related.
Yeah. I feel like I shouldn't complain because when I moved to America to my American husband, he already knew, what's going on in this country, what are the rules, and he had a credit history, and I just came here and didn't know much about it. So,
Yeah.
I was lucky for that in that aspect. So for you guys, I'm sure it was even harder to get through that and learn about it, right?
Yes,
Yeah, but-
especially when you come from countries that are kind of lower, with a lower development. So there are a lot of things that you never thought about. Like for me, before I came here, it was impossible to get a credit card in my country, like not even a bank account. And I opened one and just being by a student, international student, they gave me a credit card, a bank account, and I was like, wow, what do I do?
Yeah. So it must
But
be
still-
similar in Canada, like it is in America, right?
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
the same
Very-
system.
Yeah, but you're still allowed to complain because, again, maybe your husband already had everything said, but you coming from a different country, for
Yeah.
you, everything different. For him, maybe everything stayed the same, but for you, there's a lot of changes, emotional, financial, the culture itself, and being apart from a family. That adds a lot to your emotional stability, kind of, when you move.
Yeah.
Yep. And
So feel free complain.
okay. Well, now I'm also going to complain about the credit card that he had, and he had own
Yeah.
money. And for me, that was something unknown. We only spend money if we have it already. So
Yeah.
it was.
It's like, what? You have credit cards and you're in debt. But you know what? Before we continue with this topic, but it's very important for immigrants or multicultural families to have a credit history. And that's what helped us a lot, because we come to the States or Canada when we are already older, like in our 20s, in our 30s, and we don't have any history. We don't have this financial identity that will help us to buy a house, to buy a car. So it's very, very important to build this system, financial system, and do it like in the good way, not getting debt, but use a credit card to build your financial identity, how we call it. Because that's how you go to the bank, and the bank will say, oh, you are responsible. We will give you mortgage. And maybe, in the States, you have lower prices in houses, but here in Canada, you cannot buy if you don't have a mortgage. It's super expensive.
Really?
And
most of the places. There's some places a little bit cheaper, but that's because people don't really want to live there. But the majority of the places are very, very expensive. Yeah.
So when we start seeing our friends or everyone around that they have these issues with money, and they are thinking, oh, you guys are special because we were able to build a very stable financial situation in a very short time. We worked very hard, we saved, we did everything possible. But they were saying, oh, you guys are special. And we are like, no, we are not. It's super simple. And that's why we decided to, okay, we need to teach this. It's not that we have some special power.
Or lucky. It's not about luck either.
No, definitely.
It's not about luck. It's not about being, knowledgeable. Like you don't need a higher education, nothing like that. It's super simple. It's just being responsible and understanding how the system works, and then use it to your benefit. So that's how we are so passionate about it.
Yeah, I can tell because we already jumped into the deep water right away. I love it. You're not even letting me ask questions.
Yes,
I love it. It's so good. Okay. And while you were talking, I had so many questions, and now I just lost them all. But when two people come together and meet each other, and they're both from different cultures, they grew up in a different way, which also reminds me, I wanted to ask you, why did you guys got into this to help couples? Because I know that also both of you came from really poor families. So, and then you said that that's also one of the reasons why this is so important for you guys to focus on this, to make sure that you are always on top of things and financially responsible. So can you talk a little bit about that?
For myself, I always had an example of my father, some phrases he would say, the way he was talking to us as kids. He wasn't talking too much about money, but he was very disciplined on the financial side because he moved at an older age. When they moved to Israel, he had 2 kids. He was 61, I believe, when we moved. So I was 8 years old. My sister was 10. So you have to take care of a young family in the country. He don't know the language. We had no money at all. We was kind of poverty level for the first couple of years. And so there was days I would come home and I would say, hey, why I see my friends' parents, they having beer on the weekend, they having wine. How come you never drink? So he's saying, if I would be drinking beer, you wouldn't have milk in the fridge. So these kind of sayings and says, and the way he was saving, the way every time he come home with the receipt from whatever store he comes, at that time there was no computers, but he had a big piece of paper. He was writing down everything, and he wasn't explaining us too much, but just by seeing what he was doing, I understood that I inherited this kind of vision. What is that? When I already moved to Canada 21 and I started going about my own life, so I kind of see that this kind of knowledge, I retained it. So I believe that it's very important as a parent to understand how you're supposed to use your finances, because your kids, they look at you. It doesn't matter what you're gonna say. You're gonna tell them, go read a book about finances and you're gonna be good. No, because our kids follow the parents and they're doing what the parents do and they repeat. So if you're doing it and you're showing it to your kid, and plus if you're gonna talk a little bit about and explain, there's a good way that your kid gonna be successful financially and will be organized money-wise. So I believe that this is very important to start from a young age, just at least see, slowly understand. So we're thinking, and again, it's not difficult. If my parents were able to survive at their old age, working, earning pennies, and they were able to save, us living in North American countries, there's no reason, unless of course there's some health issue. But I'm talking if you're just a regular normal person, you able to save if you want.
There's always a way, and that's what we learn from our parents. Because I'm also coming from a like very low middle class, very low. We were like in the line of poverty. But my parents were always, what I learned from my parents is that this being grateful, like they were always saying, there are people that are living like worse than us. And we should be happy that we are together, that we have time for each other. And they were always treating life with humor. That's what I love from my parents. They were always smiling, and they were always saying, it's happening for a reason. We don't know the reason now, but it will come soon after. We will learn the lesson. But they were always like super positive about, and that's what I learned from my parents. They were maybe not as disciplined like his parents, because
because now we're teaching them also.
Yeah, we are teaching my parents about the super discipline. Because his parents were like super disciplined, even with the water they were using, like super, they were saving and everything. My parents were a little bit more free spirits.
Yeah.
but they were like, what I really, really learned from my parents is being positive about money, being saying, okay, this is a challenge and we will pass through the challenge and we will learn something and we will be better after that. So that's what we also, the good thing of being multicultural and coming from different countries and different stories, that even though he was living most of his life in Israel and I was living in Chile, that is, you think it's so separate, and then we meet in Canada that is a total different culture, is that anyway we found things that are so similar, values that are similar, and the way we see a life is very similar, and we combine the best of all the cultures in our life. And that's how we teach our daughter, how we live our life, is combining everything. Okay, we learned this from Chile, this from your parents, this from my parents, this from Canada, that also have good things. And also the States have a lot of good things. So why not combine everything and create your best life? That's what we want to teach. Like, create your own dream, not the dream that somebody else tells you to dream, your own, because you are a special couple, you're a special family, because you combined so much knowledge, so much experiences, that it's like you can build your own dream. Like, for us, we think that everything is possible. And that's what we want to give to people.
I love that. That's such a good, like, powerful message to give to couples, to feel that yes, we can do it no matter how old we are and when we need to start from zero and where we coming from. Yeah. It's really interesting about the stories that you guys were telling about your parents. For example, I feel like usually parents, or not usually, but some people that were saving up money for a long time through their whole life, and all of a sudden they have this, they got a better life for themselves. They feel like now we can spend and now we can have a good life. And then there's type of people who would keep saving and they are scared to spend even if they have now because they have this habit. And I feel like my parents have such a silly habit because some things they love to save up on, like you mentioned, the water, just silly things that they're trying to save up on, and then they would just go out and spend money on dinner or buy some expensive car or something bigger than the dinner. And then on the other end they would save up, try to not use too much water. And for me, that's so silly, but they don't even notice that.
Don't spend too much time on the shower. But you know what? It becomes like your personality. Mm-hmm. We see in his parents, they are so used to it that they cannot change it. Like they are ready.
Yeah, they're already good. They already saved up. At a very late age that they start, my father was able to save enough to buy an apartment. So now they live in an apartment that it all paid off. And again, he started at age 61 in the new country with no money, which 2 first years we were at the poverty line. Then we started getting better. So still at this age, they were able to save enough to buy an apartment. And it took them about 9 years and they are mortgage free. But so now they live in pretty good, but they cannot spend money. So I tell him,
your personality.
I tell my father, take mom to a restaurant, go enjoy. It's like, I'm not going to enjoy it. Like we have good food at home. We cook nice. So it's becoming a lifestyle. And they came visit us here in Canada in the summertime. So like small things again, like he would tell me, okay, turn off the water. And I'm like, Dad, we're not in that situation anymore. But I also have this issue. Like my daughter, she knows she live in the washroom. She turned off the light, and now she giving me the hey, saying, "Hey, you didn't turn off the light." So it's just small things that you start living like this, becoming a lifestyle. And overall, you do save. On one hand, you help maybe the environment, which we like to think that we use a little bit less water, we use a little bit less electricity, plus you saving, and it's becoming a lifestyle. It's not a hardship anymore. It's not like, oh, it's so hard to do that. It's just a normal thing. And
the good thing is that you save in things that are not that important. Mm-hmm. Like if you think, it's not that hard to save in these little things, but they will sum up. And then suddenly you will have some money to go on a nice vacation, something that you couldn't think before because you were not saving in these little things, because little things
adds up,
and they will help you to actually do what you really want to do. So
and like you said, your parents, they save on this and then they go for a nice dinner, but this is great. They create a good memory. They enjoy themselves thanks to all these small little savings, which seems silly, but it's awesome that they're doing it, that they can enjoy after.
Yeah, that's true. Sometime even like living with my husband who is American, and I'm not saying that we didn't have a poor life. I mean, we did in the beginning when I was younger, but I wasn't really affected by it. However, it was still what's the right word? Not a lower lifestyle, but a little bit more cautious, and we were more aware of money than Americans are. And like you mentioned, the turn the light off. My husband would just leave the light on when we leave the house because, well, it's going to be dark when we come home. Silly things like that.
Turn it off. Why you leave it on?
So what would your advice be to couples that get together? They're not married yet. They're just moved together, starting to get into this serious relationship and trying to figure it out, their lifestyle. What are we gonna do with money? How are we gonna save up? What should we spend money on? I heard a lot of people would have their separate account, then maybe something they would like to join together. So what would your advice be on that?
Well, first of all, you need to think on your vision as a couple. Mm-hmm. Before you start trying to do anything with numbers, with with the decisions, you need to set a joint vision, a common vision for you two. You said, okay, what is important for us? For us, it's important to go on vacation once a year. Good for you. Or you know what is important at this time? You need to study because I don't know, somebody came from another country like us. We had to study everything again because our degrees didn't have any value in this country. So maybe your priority is that your spouse need to study and create hers or his career. So that's the vision. Okay, what we want to do, how we see ourselves in the future. We want to have kids, we want to have a house, or we are okay with a condo. Like just think about, just imagine what is your perfect life, your dream life, and say from there decide which are the goals. Okay, to get here we need to again study, we need to buy save money for the down payment for the house and things like that. And after that you decide how you will get there and say, okay, we need a joint account, we need I think immigration reasons, you need to show that you are like a real commitment. So joining accounts is very good if you want to apply for your residency.
But I'm thinking the joint account, I'm looking at it less as requirements for immigration, which is a in most of the countries. If you want to immigrate, it's a good way to show. But I'm thinking as two people come together and you're planning to combine your life, have separate accounts and doing separate accounting for this money. So let's say, hey, I would want to spend money on my fancier car, or I want to buy a fancier tires. You want to go do massage every weekend. And then it's become, instead of you have one vision, it's become like you start getting separated and you have your own thing. I have my own thing. So I believe that you have to combine the things. And let's say we can talk about, okay, for me, it's really important to have these beautiful rims. So if we tackle this goal, which is silly, but I mean like just whatever goal you want
Rings
to put
for
on
the
it.
car.
Yeah.
No rings.
So yeah, so and you both decided, okay, we're gonna tackle this goal first, and then we're gonna do to the second goal. So then if you're doing it together, and I believe the more things you're doing together and you put it's also gonna strain your relationship, because it's not, oh, I want this, I want that. There's have to be a little bit compromise, and you have to help each other. You have to know what the other person wants, where they want to go in life. So this is very important to talk about this. So then you know what kind of future you want to have, what kind of goals you want to have. And when you do have this goal, whatever it is, it's so much easier to get to it when both of you are on board. Because when you're one person and you have to tackle all of these things by yourself, it's a little bit harder. But here you have power of two, so you should use it.
Yeah, and you become one, and you become one in love, in life, and also in finances. You have to think that the money that you make, like separate, is everything for one reason, for one common life, and that's very important for you. Just not only because of the numbers of the immigration of anything like that, but also because you are thinking in your mind that you are one already, that you decided to live this life with the person you love forever. And it's not like you have a backup plan. Okay, I have my, in case it doesn't work. Okay, let's. I understand that there is an option. Okay, if it doesn't work, you need to separate. But when you get married, when you start this relationship, it's because you want to be with this person. It's because you want to dream together. It's because you want to build your future together. So combining finances is very important, but also it's very important, as we talked at the beginning, that you had to have a financial identity. So even though you are combining your finances, you need to have separate credit cards. Like what we do. He has his credit card and he give me access to his account. But I have my credit card and I give him access. So we both know what's going on, but for the banks and for
We
the
both
society.
build in credit history.
So in case something happened to him, I still
she has the power of the credit history in case she need to be doing any changes in life. So she still have that after, because if it's only one account and one credit card and we share it, so on whoever names it is, that's who gonna be benefit from it eventually. So like she said, something happened to me and I had everything on me, she don't have, and we've been 14 years here, for example. All these 14 years doesn't matter for her. It's like nothing ever happened.
But I hope nothing will happen to him.
Yeah.
But you never know. You had to be ready for the
It
good.
gives you a sense of peace, just to know that, worst case scenario. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's very important to do. And we learned that, and it really helped us, because when you do want to get a second mortgage or third mortgage
or a loan, something
really,
is happening, I don't know, you get super sick and you need to get I know in America you had to pay everything from your pocket
if you don't have any work
insurance
coverage from
so
work.
if your spouse gets super sick and you go by yourself to get a loan, you will not get any loan because you don't have a history. So that's the thing.
And if you get a loan, it's going to be high interest or very difficult loans that, especially in a difficult time, you don't want to be getting into. So it's going to be much easier for you. And for the question, how we think to start as a couple, and a little bit how we started, that as a starting couple, you're not very high maintenance, I would say, like, I live by myself. It was a terrible apartment with roommates, and we had fun.
Eggs and hot dogs every day.
Yeah, that was our usual lunch, breakfast, and dinner. I mean, when we started dating, we were living in a very old house, in a basement room, and there was another 4 roommates.
Yeah,
and
we were renting kind of a room in a house with other people.
And there was another few couples and few single guys. So it was fun on one side. We would get together on the weekend.
We were all young and we were all like studying and having parties. So it was kind of doable.
Yeah. So let's say, and at this point of time, so you pay very little for rent. So you can do it. If you don't have kids, you can live in a little bit, maybe not super comfortable way. But it will help you to save a lot of money, because if both of you start work, even if it's a very low wage, and you pay $500 a room, we were paying at the time like $450, and we had 2 salaries, we were able to save pretty fast compared if we would go and rent something nicer and just say, okay, we want to be by ourselves. So just a way of kind of small sacrifices for a greater good. So start thinking about this way, because we didn't know yet what we're saving for. We were just starting. In our families, nobody really had properties before, and if they had, it was like forever home. The time as a young couple, you maybe not ready for it yet. So we started saving, and then we saw an option of investing in an apartment. So we did bought this apartment. It was exciting. It was stressful. First big purchase in a different country. And again, because we knew that we still need to continue saving, instead of move to that apartment that we really were hoping to move, and we bought it, and we were so excited.
Married.
We were already married, still living in this, but we still did not move. We rented it out because it was about $1,000 a month expense, and we knew that we need to boost ourselves a little bit more in case something do happen. So we waited almost a year before we moved. So you can imagine how anxious we were. And that we have this apartment finally, but this has really helped us, because then when we did move, we had some extra money and we had the peace of mind. Something happens, we have some money. If we would just moved and something would broke down, some issue at work, suddenly you get fired, whatever, that would bring a lot of stress to your life. And as majority of people, as we know, that what the strain of your marriage usually is come from financial.
Yeah.
Majority, I would say. So when you try to avoid this by small sacrifices, so let's say now I like this, that I'm current me very grateful for the past me, for the sacrifices that the past me did. I'm super grateful.
You're like
my life
tapping
is much
yourself
better now.
on
Yes.
You did good, Val. You did good.
What would be the amount in your mind that would be the safe saving to be able to jump and maybe do something like you said, get into the apartment you purchased, or maybe switch jobs or move to a new country? What's the amount of money that you need to have in a bank, like, for saving?
It depends on a lot of factors, how comfortable you want to be. Let's say for us, we were feeling comfortable at the point when we were moving to the apartment. We wanted to have at least $5,000 that we know in case something do happen, we have that money. Jobs, me, when we were younger, every time I would switch a job, I would always have another job lined up. So I never had one day of suddenly I'm not working. So I always were very conscious about that. Even though we had money, I just hate to see wasting our spendings, or, oh, you know what, I got so tired from working, I'm going to take a week off until I start the other one. And we had a lot of energy and passion at that time. Now we have a little bit less energy for working. But now, thanks to all our savings, if, let's say, we want to change job or anything, I'm not in a big rush because we build this comfort for ourselves. But usually for us, I would be comfortable as a young couple at least to have 5,000. So in case do something happen,
but you had to think, okay, what are my expenses for the month? So you have this amount of expenses that is like a must. You had to pay for them. The electricity, the university, whatever, your kids. And you have to think, okay, I need to save at least 3 to 6 months to cover these expenses. So if I get fired, I know that I will have at least 3 months to
cover all these basic expenses that have to be going out of your account.
If you get pregnant, like, I don't know how it's in the States, but here we get like half of the salary when we go on maternity leave. So it depends also in the company.
Yeah, it depends on the company, yes.
So some of them less, but in average it's like half of the salary. So then you had to think, okay, can I stay with my baby if I get pregnant? Can we cover everything so I can stay for maternity leave? Or like that's the ideal, because if you had to go back to work earlier, then it's a lot of stress that add to your relationship. So things like that. Just think about all the expenses you will have in the month and say, okay, let's save for 1 month, and then next month, and try to set like a higher goal, 6 months. Okay, 6 months we have cover and we are like this. Okay, we are okay. But for us, 5,000 is like the minimum that we cannot go lower than that. If we are lower, we get stressed out. Like, okay, we don't have enough in case something happens. But it's like covering couple of months of the things that you really need, because there are a lot of things you want that you don't need, that you spend like usually during the month, but you don't really need it. So just think about that and think, okay, the first goal will be 1 month. We save to cover 1 month. And then the second goal, okay, let's cover 2 months.
Yeah, just one step ahead, because if you think too far ahead, you say, then I can't do this, that's too much.
It's
If
impossible.
you think only just 1 month at a time, yeah.
And always think, okay, I cannot use my savings until this level, because I will be in risk of anything that can happen. I will be suffering at that level. So then
and
that's how we think.
you don't even consider that you have that money. That money doesn't exist for you. That's
Yeah.
just there sitting, you know. I think that's also a mindset that people need to say that, yes, I have that, but I don't have it because I'm not using that money. That's, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What would
Yeah,
you
it's true.
say to couples who are, you know, I feel like you two are balanced out in a way of you both came to a different country as immigrants. You started building up your finances, your life, your credit card, get better job, get better, you know, lifestyle. For couples who are a little bit off with that, they're not balanced. So one of them has a great credit history, has a stable job, and then here comes this other person. They want to live together, and you know, it's my example, but I'm trying to generalize because I'm sure that a lot of people have that same situation.
Yeah.
I couldn't work for 6, 7 months, and then I got
Mhm.
pregnant. That's why I couldn't work again. So I didn't have any history. I didn't have a job. Nobody really knew who I am. So it was really hard for me to feel valued by side of my husband, you know, even just
Yeah.
emotionally, not necessarily financially, because I'm not a person who's really needy or want stuff. And or you know, I was good. I was happy in our little apartment. I was happy with whatever we were doing. But as far as feeling valued with my husband, that's where I struggled, especially when I wanted to go home to see my family, and I feel like he's the one who needs to buy me the airplane ticket so I can see my
Yeah.
family, but really I'm here because you are here. So
Yeah.
there's just a lot of things going on in these kind of that can wait on relationships, that can, you know, challenge the marriage. So do you have any advice for those type of couples?
I think it goes again to the vision. Okay, you are one now, and however is the situation, the money that comes to the family is the family's money. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the first thought that need to come to your mind for both sides, the one that is making the money and the one that is not, because there is a lot of guilt and there is a lot of not feeling enough, all these feelings that we met a lot of couples that they have very high degrees back home and they were like very stable, and then they fall in love and they decide to change all their life, and then they come and it's all this. First you feel super lonely because
Mm-hmm.
you left everything behind, everything you knew. Second, you even feel a little bit I don't know how to say it, but kind of stupid. That's how I feel
Mm-hmm.
because I couldn't talk
The
the language when
language,
I came.
yeah.
And back home I was like very well spoken.
Mm-hmm.
I was like with very good knowledge. And then I came here and I was like feeling like a newborn baby trying to talk.
Oh yeah, I know
And
that
then
feeling.
you feel like you are not enough, and the worst thing that people were saying when I was talking English was like, you're so cute. And I hate it. I hate it. Because for me, that means like, oh, you sound so stupid.
Oh
But
no.
cute.
Like that's
Yeah.
my understanding of, oh, you're so
Maybe
cute.
they just really thought that she's cute, but you know, you get your own feelings to it and your
Especially like
emotions.
when I would go to a doctor's office, still today. I've been here for 11 years, but doctor language somehow is just
Yeah.
foreign for me. And then they're always like, okay, honey. Thank you,
Yeah.
honey. And now I
Like,
just
don't
feel
treat
so
me like
little.
that.
I just want to go in a corner.
Yeah. You understand
I
me what I
do.
mean.
Yeah.
All of this feeling is, and plus that you're not making the money, and then you
Yeah.
had to rely on your husband
Yeah.
or your spouse, your wife, and it's all this belief that you are not enough,
Mm-hmm.
and you come. For me, all these bad memories from childhood, all these things came together. Like things that I thought I never have problems with, I was like struggling. I was struggling with how I look, with how I sound, with how that I was not smart enough, that everything. when we got married, I couldn't even say the vowels because I couldn't.
Oh.
I didn't understand when the guy was saying the lawful marriage,
Lawfully wedded wife, and she lawfully.
and then I said awful wife or whatever. So now we laugh, but at that
Yeah.
time I was
Yeah.
feeling like super low, like I was
Yeah.
nobody.
Yeah.
And this is when you need to be super curious about what your spouse is feeling and what's the life that your spouse is having right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe for us was easier because we understood each other better because we were kind of having the same
Feelings,
the
the
same
same
experiences.
thoughts. Yeah.
But when you are in a different situation, like if your spouse never changed country and never had to pass through all this stuff, be curious, be very curious about what your spouse is feeling, what is struggling with, and be able to listen and to just to listen. Sometimes just listening is enough. And sometimes I had the time that I couldn't work also, and was very stressful because at that time I didn't have a job and I was at work permit, so I couldn't stay in the country because my work permit already expired and I didn't have a permanent job to continue.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't work. I was like super like feeling low. We were like in love, and he was willing to tell me just little things like say, "Don't worry, the money I'm making is your money." I was like asking him, "Can I use money to I don't know to buy I don't know toothbrush, whatever it is?
Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Can I use the money?" And he's like, "This is our money." And he was super, super clear with this. This is our money. I'm working and you here because we are one. And that's the thing. You both need to the time you decide to be together, you have to treat yourself as one and be curious of what the other person is feeling and be able to communicate. And that was super helpful from Val, that he was always saying this is ours, because I had also my issues, because when I was back home I was like super independent. I was making my money. I was super not super smart, but with a very good education, like, and then you come here and everything is like
Mm-hmm.
like you are a different person.
And then
He was
people expect you to be happy, or
Yeah.
why aren't you feeling happy? You are in this amazing
Yeah.
country and
Yeah.
you're traveling and you left
You
your
don't have
home.
any problems.
Why are you
and
so Yeah. Yeah.
and it's very difficult because it's also the pressure from your family back home.
Mm-hmm.
Like we feel the pressure a lot from back home, not from our family, but the surrounding, the friends of the friends, the friends of the family, thinking that you came to the States, you came to Canada, now you're rich.
Yeah, it's like they
Oh
handing you
yeah.
money in the airport, and you trying to live up to those crazy expectations, which people
Yeah.
here also have to work to
Yes.
survive, to be able to do their daily life. But everybody at home, they think, oh wow, because we all watch these fancy movies that
Yeah.
in the States it's all rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah.
And and that's the expectations, and it's very difficult to deal with this also if you cannot show this in the picture and show, oh, I'm so successful, and sometimes you're just gonna go in debt just to prove and to show, oh, look at the car I bought because I'm in the States, just to show them I didn't waste my time to come here. I'm not just useless here and I left everything I love. And so there's the pressure to show that you are successful. So that's we do understand that, and there's a lot of issue like that. And I'm thinking, if let's say in your case, and this was our case, that I was permanent resident, she wasn't. For me, it was very important to show her that whatever happens, we're going to be okay. And was very important from my side because I was 100% it, you kind of can say. And she's not. So I told her, if we cannot get you permanent resident, I'm going to live with you. I don't care. We have to go to Chile, we'll go to Chile. And even though we would not want to, but I would go anyway. And just this, and I knew everything will be okay because we always make sure it's okay. But this is very important just to get this feeling and to understand. But that's why you have to talk. So then I always knew how she feels. She always knew how I feel. So we always talk and we always know. So then you don't have, because I can understand, let's say in your husband case, that he have no idea about these feelings that they even there. And because how could he? So it's very important to say that and to explain that and just take a quiet time and say, hey, I want to just sit for 10 minutes and tell you how I feel and just how you feel. So then just he knows. So communication important. So
yeah, and a tip for women, that we have to be very explicit when we want to talk.
Yeah.
Because I'm very logical when I talk to him, and I'm very, very like
I'm lucky.
explicit to him. And when I'm feeling things, I don't expect him to understand it. I just tell him, you know what? I feel sad. And then he knows already, and he hugged me, and he just wait for me to continue talking because he already understood. But at the beginning, and I know women, we have all these thoughts, and we think that the other person feel the same.
And need to know exactly what's going through your mind.
So just say, you know what? I need to talk. This is bothering me.
Yeah.
And just say, I don't need you to fix it, because guys are very good on fixing.
Yeah.
Let's fix the world.
Just say, I don't need it to fix. I just needed to listen. So can we sit? Let's drink some wine. Let's make it like more comfy, and don't sit in front of each other, because it's more like confrontation.
Yeah.
How you say? Just sit like just hug each other like this, and then just.
And you're already, there's no way you can be mad at each other when you're hugging and you're feeling already warm and fuzzy. So
you feel
it's very
safe. You feel safe. Yeah.
And then you start talking and you remind him, I don't need it to be fixed.
Yeah.
I just need to release it. And that's it. And that's how we do. We do financial stuff, we do parenting stuff the same way. Everything we talk about is like that. Because finances, money will always be in your mind. And the only way to deal with money is by dealing also with your emotions. If you are not good with your emotions and your communication as a couple, your finances will never be super good as you want. Like, numbers are numbers, and it's like you just had to do plus and minus. It's not like super difficult stuff, these finances, but this is the most difficult part, that you had to communicate, you had to think about the future and plan together, and be willing to listen to each other and be curious.
Because finances can also change. You can get really rich, you can get really poor. Maybe, he was bringing 100% of the income, and then all of a sudden you're going to be the one bringing 100%, because he would want to go to study or want to go be a student. So then, that's kind of also my goal and my vision, that, to take off my husband's shoulder the stress of finances and have him fulfill his dream, because he has a lot. We both do. I feel like we both just chasing our dreams. Yeah. And to be like, you know what, you go do what you love, and it doesn't matter how much money you make. It's not about the money. So I feel like it's kind of like a balance between the two of us, and also anything can happen in life, and I love that if you two are good together emotionally, then you can take on anything. And the
other thing is very important, we see like our cases, like we were the ones, the women couldn't work. But imagine there are a lot of American women that marry uh, a guy from other country,
Mm-hmm.
and there is another issue. Like if the spouse, the husband cannot work, and it come with all these beliefs that I had to be the provider, I had to be the that's another issue.
Yep.
Like the guys, they feel they were raised like with this mind that they had to be the providers, the one that take care of the family. But might be the situation that maybe I will be the
The sole
citizen, and
provider.
he will come and he
Mm-hmm.
cannot work, and I had to be the 100% income in the family, and we need to be okay with that. And
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to think about anybody else around us. Get out of all these beliefs, get rid of all these beliefs that don't help the couple, and do your thing, because you both know what is the best for you too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because people have a lot of opinions
Yeah.
and
Oh,
opinions that you don't need. And
Yeah. Or
yes, it's better.
society that expects you to do
Yeah,
this or that, and you should stay home with your child, or you shouldn't stay home. One person says this, the other person says that, and you just
yeah.
don't know what's the right thing. So yeah, just look inside of your
Yeah.
family. Yeah. I love that.
there were days where I was making more. There was day when she was
Yeah.
making more, and I'm like, if you making more, awesome. I love
Mhm.
it. That's
Mhm.
great. It's going to the same goal, same family, same bank account. Doesn't matter. It's going for us, not
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
anybody else. So if your wife making more, just say thank you and
Mhm.
enjoy it.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly how my husband feels too, and I feel like we're both really lucky. Our relationship is really good in that way, but I know that there are a lot of people out there who
Yes.
don't feel that. The man wants to feel powerful, and he wants to be the one making more money. So I'm sure that there are a lot of couples like that out there too. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's good that we can show, with this podcast and you guys what you're doing, to show people that yes, that there is possible to have a balanced and good relationship, and everything starts from there, and after
Yeah.
that you can have anything. Yeah. We had such a good conversation. We're almost hitting an hour mark, so I'm gonna put
Oh,
pause on this. And honestly, I had a bunch of questions about weddings and getting married, getting engaged. So if you would like, I would love to invite you again to my podcast so we can
yes.
continue this
We will be
conversation.
happy if you don't get bored of ourselves.
No, I love it. I
Yeah.
love
If
this. But before I let you go, I would love if you could tell a little bit the listeners about what you do, how you help them, what kind of resources you have for them, where they can find you, ask more questions, and all of that stuff.
Yeah, we have a YouTube channel. You can find us on Instagram, on Facebook. We go live every
Yes.
week. We talk about all the topics around money. You can just find us as Kate and Val, and just Google us. You can find us in Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And we have a website, and we also offer courses for the people that want to go more into it. And we go step by
More step
step
by step program.
with all the numbers. And we also touch a lot about the relationship and the emotions behind the money.
And very important, the mindset as well, because you have to, our mind is so reprogrammed with a lot of our past and what people talk about money and the way they talk about money, that it's evil, that it's bad, that it's whatever it is. So you really have to reprogram yourself to be able to
To
put a clear way to where you're going.
and make your dream life come true.
Yeah.
Love it. That's a perfect ending.
Yes. Well, we want to thank you. Thank you very much for having this platform for people like us to come and talk and give a little bit of our experience, hear other people about their experiences, because all the multicultural moving from place to place, there's a lot of interesting stories to hear.
Hmm.
And we appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, and we need to talk about planning weddings. There's
Yes,
a lot
yes.
of money talk about that.
Yes.
That's going to be a whole other episode.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming to my show. I love this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.